Hello. This session is about the process view of organizations, and I will revisit a number of concepts, a major technique that have been presented summarily in other parts, that is presented in detail in the book, because it is central. It is central to the understanding of value creation. It is central to the systems approach, which itself is central to learning. Here are the concepts I'd like to discuss. Revisit the central tool of the SITOC, customers of a process, chain of customer. Clarify output versus outcome, value stream, the mission of a process, the resources that perform the transformation, and revisiting the zooming in and the zooming out logic of all this. Let me start with the example from Chapter 9, which is training people to do process improvement in an organization. The process we scoped in Chapter 9 is the perform pre-course activities. Transformation produces people which are well selected, well prepared to take the actual course. 20 projects, because each people is trained with a project. The logistic and support plan, the well prepared instructor, those are outputs. Those are not outcomes. These outputs will be used by downstream processes to produce the desired outcome. Learning, continuous process improvement in the organization, value added, differentiation in the end, and superiority to competition. This is the outcome we're looking for. To get it, we need those outputs and other outputs of other processes to be combined in action. This is what we call value in use. To whom are these outputs directed? Well, you see, I have clients and I have internal, call them partners. We use indifferently in the book, partners, clients, internal clients. Clients are the trainees themselves, the executive of the organization, the internal in-house coordinator of the program. Internal, teach the course. This is a downstream process. It's a verb, so I'm referring to the transformation of that downstream process. This output, those outputs, like the well-selected projects, become input into teaching the course. And teaching the course will produce trained students who will train managers who themselves will be input into downstream processes, thus creating a value stream, which will be well defined and well positioned if we define the mission of those processes very well. Those are the central notions to be discussed here. So it's not all that easy when you take an internal process like this to separate, to identify clearly the clients, the internal partners, their precise needs. Because if you miss one, or if you miss several, or if you miss their needs, of course, all the techniques that you've learned will not take you anywhere. In fact, it will take you someplace you don't want to go. Let me take a simple example, a simplistic example. The guy or the gal preparing hamburgers is thinking of the external clients who will be eating it and the partner who will be serving it. The partner, the server in bracket, has specific needs. I need my hamburger to be wrapped in a paper of this color. If it's a cheeseburger of that color, I need to know how long it's been sitting in the bin there to see if it's still ready and edible, if it meets our quality standards. And I need it right here because I'm moving very fast, and speed is of the essence when it comes to fast food. So whoever prepares this hamburger has to know in the chain of customers. There is, of course, the final customer. But the final customer will not be happy if I do not give my internal customer, the serving process itself, what they need to serve the final customers as well. So you see, as you zoom up a little bit, you zoom out, you need to understand the business logics, the value stream. The business model is critical as well. The thinking globally requires this type of logic that we've presented in other videos and in other parts of the book. Seeing the organization as a stream of processes producing output, which become input to others, that's directly from chapter 3. Yeah, and you can see this logic here as the client of a process being the downstream process, among other things, with a view to outcome. Outcome in the end, what will be the outcome? We're doing all this, we're spending money, we're putting efforts in and resources. What is the outcome we want? What is the job to be done? And that requires some zoom out. This form I find always useful. In the case of my hamburger, the cook hamburger process is not direct to client. This one here, teach the course, is direct to client. It's training managers. Okay, but prepare hamburger will have a chain. I serve the server, and the server serve the customer. That's my chain leading to the client. Then the relevant needs, the critical elements, and the process mission. It's always useful to just asking yourself these questions forces you to zoom up and think a little more globally as you do that. Take another example. Introduce a new client in the organization. That is unfortunately not always seen as a process. And of course you can see the criticality of it, as it's the first, once the customer is signed, it's his first contacts. And it is complicated because it involves most of the departments, from operation to marketing to legal to customer service to accounting. This process, of course, as the client, the paying client, is the ultimate client. But all the departments who need to do something, to know something of that client and to perform up to his or her expectation are also internal customers of that process, or internal partners, if you like. It is a very complicated process. It is a critical process that very often is haphazard and leaves, you never get, as they say, a second chance to do a good first impression. So if you were to scope this process, if you were to try and define the chain of customers and the outcomes that you want in the end, it would be, this sort of tool would be excellent and very challenging, and would require the best, the top people in the organization to get their mind together with structured tool before they start zooming into the action and the techniques in the process design. To zoom in now, let's take another example. Preparing a proposal, responding to a request for proposal. Let's visit a generic process of this kind, and I will change my support for that, moving to Prezi. Escape this, minimize that, sorry. I'll use Prezi for that. And it should allow me to present this. There I go. Prepare proposal. Output is a proposal. That is not the outcome. The proposal will go to the customer. Customer will receive other proposal, will assess these proposals, compare, respond, maybe do a pre-qualification, send letters out. And if we are selected, we will put the final proposal, negotiate, sign, then do the job and hopefully make money and have a satisfied customer that spreads positive word of mouth outcome. So let's visit this process using the Prezi magic. Prepare proposal. RFQ document is an input. It is produced by a process that I would call conduct initial screening, where you scan the environment for RFQs out there. Updated budget and profit plan. Well, there's a process that updates verb, action verb, Cytalkable, if you like. Forward plan, forward work plan. Then there's the process here. And those processes have inputs who are produced by processes. Thus, you see the upstream chain here leading to that. Downstream now. The proposal goes, you see I'm changing the line here because I'm at the customer. The client received this proposal. And he probably receives proposals from other organizations. And he produces as an output a list of qualified bidders, and he sends rejection letters and invitations. So we're outside our company now. The invitation, assume that we're invited, then we need to negotiate and review the proposal, sign the contract. All of those, of course, processes on their own. Then we have to plan the job, then we have to do the job. Knowing this, as you are preparing the proposal, is of course fundamental. If you want to get the outcome, you need to understand what is the role, the job of this process in the value stream. What must it contribute now so that we make money when we do the job, and the people who do the job are not totally surprised. What? What did they bid exactly? What did they propose? Totally infeasible. Heard that before? I certainly have. Let's come back here and now zoom into the process to see what is not input, but rather resources that do the transformation. Now you can break a process, as you know, in the FAST diagram, analyze the RFQ, formulate an initial strategy, prepare work plan, and so on. You break it down into sub-processes, each of which is Cytalkable, as you know, as long as you'll allow me the neologism. What are the resources? Well, the resources are employees, technology, machines. I refer you to the technology video in would be chapter 3, I think, as well. Policies and procedure, process control parameters. Those are the transformational resources. They are not input. They are not being transformed by the process. They are used to perform the transformation. Let's finally suggest something you can do. If you are, excuse my French here, not necessarily look at the terms. This was a team. This is Cytalk, Supplier Input Transformation. They were working on this, and then they zoomed out a little bit, and they started, and I hope you can see the link with the previous images. They started to put upstream processes here and downstream processes and build the value stream around that. As you are doing a project definition, be it improve or design, once you get the Cytalk, a useful thing to do, especially at the moment of formulating the mission of the process, is to do this zoom out view. Post-it work. You start from the in and you zoom out and you start building the stream. You don't have to build the complete organization. If you have already a representation or process modeling of your organization, then you're in business. No problem. So let me move back as another exercise I can suggest that would be extremely useful and fairly easy to do as well. Let's see. PowerPoint back again. And we are here. There you go. I suggest to get a personal feel for this, gut feel for this. Do this. Me is not me, it is you. In your job, ask yourself, what inputs do I receive? What outputs do I produce? Give them a name. I get this, I get that. It could be electronic, it could be a letter, it could be a report, it could be verbal instructions, whatever. I get those inputs and I produce those outputs. Give them a name. Who gives me these inputs? Put the verb, the T of the Cytalk. because your input, your I, is that process's O, the output. Transformation, transformation, transformation. Those outputs are going into a process for transformation. Again, do the same thing, and you can do this just maybe one more row, one more column up, one more column down, and then you can start saying, okay, what is the name of that process? Give it a name. And you can side talk that process at a higher level. And you can ask yourself, have we ever defined? Have we ever designed that process? Is there an owner? Have we ever measured that process? Does everyone know what to do and what the other gal or guy, upstream, downstream, do? Do I know myself what this process is all about? What happens when I do not deliver my output correctly? What happens when I do not get my input in the right form? Do I go and pull it? Do I push down? Do I just don't care? Answering honestly these questions the book is very technical at times, and all this can sound overwhelming. This simple exercise makes it personal. If you're working with a process team, maybe you'd like to do this with your team. It is revealing to very often, as we talk about these straw men who do this bad, who are not delivering, that when you start looking at yourself, say, well, we are really a vertical organization. We really don't care, and we really don't, we do our bit, but think back on the 4x 100 meter relay race. Well, maybe you just care about your own 95 meters of the game, and you don't spend all that much time understanding the value stream, your competition, and your contribution, your specific contribution to that process. The odds are you will reach that conclusion, and that drives home the message and the point of going forward with digging further, understanding better these notions. In short, here are the takeaways from this short video. Scoping the right process and scoping it right requires the capability of global thinking. You can show and teach how to do a process mapping to anyone, essentially. You can show the 5Y method or FMEA to anyone. They're very intuitive methods. Thinking globally is not, requires really the mental rigor. It requires conceptual abilities and a good knowledge of business, competition, value creation, value stream, the kind of thing we're discussing here. So, and if you can't do that, then you can improve locally, but the odds are you're missing most of the boat here. You're missing the boat, essentially. This is about framing a business issue correctly so that organizational resources can be mobilized quickly and effectively to address it. It requires the global thinking and the local capability to act and do things right. And process thinking first requires unlearning, deprogramming, or organizational chart, vertical view of organization that is drilled into us so much. Unlearning starts with the belief and the understanding that that you are programmed in a given way, and that there are other ways to do things. Thank you very much. See you in another video.